For some analysis on the events unfolding in the Middle East, we're joined now by Andrew Boyd, a CBS News contributor who previously held leadership positions at the CIA and once served in Damascus as a Foreign Service officer, and Mouaz Moustafa, the executive director of the Syrian Emergency Task Force. Welcome back to Face the Nation. Mouaz, I want to start with you. You've been involved with the Syrian opposition for well over a decade. Help us understand what it means to see the regime fall.
It's an indescribable feeling of happiness that this regime, this dictator who has made the worst crimes of the 21st century, alongside Russia and Iran and ISIS, all of these horrible people have been defeated by a coalition of rebel forces that did not need any support from any outside country, not Turkey, not Qatar, not anyone. This time around, Syria was liberated by its people, for its people, and it's truly inspiring. And it's not just good reverberations for Syria, for the Middle East and Europe as well.
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty as to what this all means. Andy, you've watched this region very closely for some time. At this hour, none of the officials that I have spoken with in regional governments, in the U.S. government, seem to know where Bashar al-Assad even went. Does it matter where he went?
Mouaz may differ on this one. I don't think it does now that the government has fallen. I do think what unfolds over the next couple of weeks, and if the opposition actually treats all of the factions in Syria with dignity and respect and ensures their safety, we will have more understanding, because there's a lot of atrocities that were carried out by the Assad regime. Those people are probably still in Syria, and so we'll see how that goes. So.
Fair point. The people who worked within the
Syrian
regime
military intelligence, the other intelligence services, Syrian General Intelligence Directorate, have a lot of blood on their hands. So.
Yes, and I know that you personally, Mouaz, were involved in smuggling out documented evidence of some of the torture, of the mass atrocities, the systematic institutionalized violence that happened from some of those prisons. You brought it to Congress, you made it public. What do you think we can learn now as those buildings are being seized by rebels?
Well, the first thing that we are working really hard, and I can tell you all the rebel factions are working really hard to do, is find Austin Tice and hopefully bring him home, God willing,
an
alive to his family.
American journalist who once worked at CBS News for some time, a Marine veteran.
And he's a hero. He went to cover the plight of the Syrian people from what Assad, Iran, and Russia have been doing to them. And God willing, we bring him home alive, but we need to find him and bring him to his mom, no matter what. And the Syrians owe him a debt forever. And also other Americans that are undeclared. And freeing Syrians from prisons is something that's really important. But the collection of that intelligence, as well as the Hezbollah, Iranian, Russian, Assad regime, any officials that have been arrested by the Syrian people, again, without any support of the international community or regional countries who actually work to try to save Assad, that is valuable. That's valuable to the United States. That's why we need to engage with this new emerging government that, God willing, is the path to democracy. The only Arab country in the world with the hope of being a democracy is Syria. That's incredible.
That's a big promise to make.
It's not a promise, it's hope that's realistic.
Hope. Andy, but right now, the person we're seeing emerge, we showed him in Umayyad Mosque, hugely symbolic place to come and make a speech in Damascus, is this leader of a terrorist group, designated by the United States as a terrorist.
Correct.
$10 million bounty on his head.
Correct.
What does that signify to you?
Well, as Congressman Turner said, it's not going to be an easy process to undesignate Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani.
Which means the U.S. can't talk to him.
The U.S. can't talk to him. We can accommodate some sort of flexibility there, but he's not going to instantly come off the designation list. So, we'll see. You have said that he's going to respect all the factions, the Druze, the Christian, even the Shia and Alawi, who were responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Syrians.
By his actions, not by his words. Right. Aleppo, etc. You could talk to the Bishop of Aleppo, but yeah, absolutely.
But time will tell. I'm a born skeptic, as a lot of my colleagues at the agency are. We will see. So.
Go ahead, Mouaz. Tell us who is in this. You talked about it as a coalition, not just HTS. Who are these people who now seem to be in control of Syria?
Sure. First of all, since the whole world is boiling down the whole Syrian revolution to one faction of a coalition, or let's say even one person within a faction in that coalition, let's discuss that. Why was HTS put on the terrorist list? It was put on a terrorist list over an older version called Jabhat al-Nusra that had a loose affiliation with al-Qaeda, not a transnational or regional terrorist thing, but an inter-Islamist whatever. I don't agree with any...
But Mouaz, I think Margaret's talking also as a person, Abu Muhammad al-Julani. I mean, he was in al-Qaeda in Iraq. He worked for Abu Musab Zarqawi. He spent several years in Bucca prison as a detainee. So we're talking HTS, Jabhat al-Nusra, but also him as a person. He's designated.
Sure, let's talk about him as a person. But what's hilarious about this is right now, as millions of Syrians come back from Europe and are ready to come back home, as people have not been displaced and there has been zero reports of violations, and I was on the phone with the Bishop of Aleppo. The reason I was on the phone is that President Trump and people in President Trump's camp were concerned about the Christians in Syria. Of course, there's so much focus on, anytime there's something terrorists. And what ended up happening is the Bishop of Aleppo said, sir, first it's the coalition of groups, including HTS, and we have had electricity more now than we have under the regime, and our only fear is Russian airstrikes. So I'm glad that President Trump told Russia what it should do. Get out of Syria, and it has done so.
Well, we will be watching to see whether that continues to be the case and what transpires and what it means for
Margaret, it's really important.
I have to go. I'm so sorry.
But al-Qaeda in Syria is HOR. It's the affiliate, and HTS has defeated it and defeated ISIS. The old designation is kind of irrelevant.